story of Anansi Does the Impossible, a folktale from West Africa. Long, long ago, when the earth was set down and the sky was lifted up, all folktales were owned by the sky god. One day, Anansi the spider said to his wife, "So, it is wrong that the tales our storytellers have told for generations belong to the sky god. I'm going to buy them for our earth people." Aso said, "Do you really think you can bargain with anyone so powerful? Anansi, I fear you are taking a morsel too big to fit in your mouth." "Well, we shall see," said Anansi, and the very next day he went to the sky god. Puffing out his chest, he said, "Your Excellency, I have come to buy your stories." The sky god beat his thunder. "Tun, tun, tun. Quo," he bellowed. "What makes you think that you can buy them? Kings have tried and failed, and you are not even a man." What would you want in exchange for them?" asked Anansi. The sky god rubbed his great chin. At last he said, "The price is 3 impossible tasks. Bring me a live python, a real fairy, and 47 stinging hornets." "I can manage that," said Anansi, and then he hurried straight home to Aso. Anansi told her, "I have to pay a live python, a real fairy, and 47 stinging hornets for the stories. However can I manage that?" Aso thought, and finally she said, "I know how to begin." And she whispered, "Pesa, pesa, pesa," in Anansi's ear. Anansi chuckled, "Gug, gug, gug." And at once he ran with Aso to a nearby river, and there they sat on a log and waited. Presently, a python came slithering wasa, wasu, wasa, wasu, down to the water to drink. Anansi said in a loud voice, "It is longer than he." "Not longer," shouted Aso. "Maybe just as long, but not longer." The big snake raised his head. "What are you two arguing about?" he asked. "I say the log we're sitting on is longer than you are," Anansi answered, "but my wife says it is not." "Sss," hissed the python, "this small thing, I know I am longer. I feel longer." "Well," said Anansi, "you look shorter to me." "I'll show you," said the python. He lay down on the log, putting his nose even with one end of it. "Your tail is too short," said Anansi, and rim, he gave the tail a pull. "And now my nose is too short," cried the python, and he wriggled back to the end of the log. "I know what to do," said Aso. "Tie his tail to the other end, and then he can make himself longer." Anansi took a bush rope and began winding it around the snake's tail and the log. Kapong, kapong, kapong. The python tried to make himself longer. He stretched and he stretched, grunting, and meanwhile Anansi kept winding until he'd wound the rope all the way up to the python's head. When he had the snake tied tight, he cried, "You foolish python, you let me catch you. Now I am going to take you to the sky god." And off he went, dragging the python behind him. When Anansi gave the huge snake to the sky god, his scowl darkened the sun. He said, "It is true, you have brought me the python, but you have yet to bring a real fairy and 47 stinging hornets." Anansi went home to Aso and asked, "How are we going to catch a fairy?" Aso thought, and finally she said, "I know how." And she whispered, "Pesa, pesa, pesa," to Anansi. Anansi laughed, "Twee, twee, twee." As Aso had suggested, he carved a wooden fairy and covered it with a sticky gum from a mimosa tree. Aso put a tiny dish of banana fufu into its hands. When the moon was bright, Anansi took the make-believe fairy to the odum tree where the fairies liked to play. He tied a long string to the wooden fairy's back and another to its head, and then, clutching the ends of the string, he hid behind some bushes. And if you look carefully, you can just see Anansi hiding. Presently, some fairies came tripping to the odum tree, and they danced around it, lip, lip, lip. And one of them cried in a tinkling little voice, "Look, here is a stranger. She has a dish of foo-foo." The fairy's sister smacked her small lips, pop, pop, pop. "Ask her to give us some," she said. So the first fairy asked, "Kind stranger, may I please have some of your banana foo-foo?" Anansi pulled one string, and the doll nodded its head. The fairy took a tiny taste. "Oh," she said, "your foo-foo is delicious. Thank you." The wooden fairy said nothing. "Look," said the first fairy, "I told her thank you, and yet she doesn't answer me." "Slap her spank in place," said the sister. The first fairy hit hard. "Pah!" Her hand stuck. "Let me go," she cried. The sister said, "Hit her again. That will teach her to let you go." The first fairy struck the doll with her other hand. "Pah!" And that stuck too. Quickly, Anansi pulled the strings. Now the doll with the fairy attached came bumping over to him. "Kapari, kapari, kapari." The little fairy screamed, "Ee!" in her eerie little voice as she was being dragged away, and her sisters shrieked, "Ee! Ee!" as they ran after her. Anansi soon outran those other fairies, and then he said to the one he had caught, "Little fairy, I am going to take you to the sky god," and he did. When the sky god saw Anansi coming with the fairy, he roared, "How can a measly creature like you perform these impossible tasks?" But then he added, "I admit that the python and the fairy are here still. You have not brought me the 47 stinging hornets." Anansi ran home to Aso and asked, "How are we going to catch 47 stinging hornets?" Aso thought, and finally she said, "I know how." And she whispered, "Pesa, pesa, pesa," to Anansi, and Anansi laughed. Gee, gee, gee. As Aso had suggested, he plucked a bottle-shaped gourd from the calabash tree, whittled a wooden cork for it, and filled it with water from the river. Next, he found a hornet's nest in a bush. Climbing high up on a nearby tree, he tipped the bottle and let the water gurgle, go-lur, 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 down upon the hornets. "My brothers," called Anansi, "do you want a better shelter? See, in this calabash you will be safe and dry." He held out the empty gourd. The hornets buzzed around it, and one flew in, and then another, and then another, and when Anansi had counted 47 of them, he popped the stopper and cop. "Little hornets," he said, "I am going to take you to the sky god." And off he went. Now the sky god saw Anansi coming, and at once he flashed his lightning, wee, 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 and beat his thunder, tun, tun, tun. Holding out the buzzing gourd, Anansi says, "In here are the 47 stinging hornets. Do you want to count them?" "No," cried the sky god. He threw up his hands in resignation and said, "Anansi, you have paid the price. The live python, the real fairy, and the 47 stinging hornets are mine. From now on, the stories belong to you." And Anansi thanked the sky god, and then he hurried home. That night, the people of the village gathered inside a circle for storytelling, and Anansi told how he and Aso had managed to buy the sky god stories. The people rejoiced, chanting, "Honor to Anansi, honor to Aso, honor to Anansi and Aso." And from that day to this, the stories of West Africa have been called the Anansi Tales.